On All Hallows Eve, when the moon is agleam, the gays dissect films on a pod called Let's Scream.
Films with werewolves and demons, zombies and witches. Spooky season is here, so get ready, bitches.
Who will survive? Which divas go down when a killer named Michael is let loose on the town?
It's finally October, and spooky's the theme. Our one question for you is, Are you ready to scream?
Oh, God.
Oh, you good?
Girls, sorry about that. I don't know what was in my throat.
Come on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a horror podcast. Sorry, can I restart that? Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a horror podcast. Oh my God, you take it. I can't do it.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie.
Today, we are looking at 2000's Ginger Snaps, directed by John Fawcett.
Join us as we journey to Canada.
And
learn all about why ginger snaps.
Yes. Are you ready to snap, girl?
Come on, girl. Let's
snap. Do we like the new intro? The new Halloween intro that we made?
Oh, yes. No, I love it.
You know what I started laughing because it reminded me of? Watch out, bitches. It's the new prima donna. Head cheerleader's gonna be me. LaQuisha Kiana. That's very the vibes it was getting. I wanted to mention that up front because
LaQuisha Kiana.
Watch out, sisters. I'm the real prima donna. Head cheerleader's gonna be me, LaQuisha Kiana.
very Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, that's what it was. Shakespeare.
We also got another comment this week. Are you ready for some Scream mail, bitch?
Scream mail.
Let me see. Let me
Remember,
pull it up.
everyone,
I forgot.
we don't get a lot of comments, so if you
No.
send them, we will read them.
We
and
will read them, and we appreciate
we
them.
appreciate all the questions.
Let's
or
see
any questions.
here.
Or just comments if you just want to tell us how much you like the podcast.
Yes. Okay, this comment is from Kashia Mack. She says, I just kind of stumbled upon this channel. You guys are funny. And I think I'm going to like listening to you go on about movies. LOL.
Thank
Period.
you.
Thank
you
you
so
Kashia.
much.
That is very sweet. And we're excited for you to join us as we dive into more movies.
Please share.
Yeah.
To all your friends.
Share with your friends. So Ginger Snaps from the year 2000. I like this movie, I'm going to say right off the bat. I think this is a really fun werewolf movie. I think it serves cunt. I think it's like a cool coming of age movie. And I like movies about sisters. I especially love movies about goth sisters from Canada. So
Yeah.
I think it's fun. What about you?
I can see how this kind of like, because it reminded me a lot of Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, I'm sure it influenced Jennifer's Body quite a bit, yeah.
But I think that's why I didn't like it as much, because I love Jennifer's Body.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I liked it. It just wasn't like, I think it kind of drags.
It definitely
I think
is not a perfect movie.
There was a point where I was like, oh, we're in like the last 15 minutes of this film, right? Nope, there was 40 minutes left. I was like, oh.
Well, I know that your biggest critique on movies is always going to be time.
That's the Gen Z in me.
Yeah. My main takeaway from doing this podcast is if the movie's shorter, Stevie will like it.
Usually, but not always, because there are long ones I like if they keep me interested. This one, it's just like, just wrap it up a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's a perfect movie.
No.
And I definitely agree with you that it drags, but overall, I love this movie.
There's points I really like. I love the climax at the end so much. Like the
So
whole,
good.
like, scare, what I think is the scariest part of the film. And I kind of wish there was more of that throughout it. I like the commentary, because there's a lot of commentary. It's commentary on, like, womanhood, sisters.
Yeah,
There's even the commentary on the STIs.
This movie has so much to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I do like. I think the performances are good. I really like the actress who played Ginger. I thought she was really great. The sister, I like, but her character seemed a little, like, it got to a point of, like, well, I shouldn't say that. No, yeah, I liked her. I was about to say it felt one-dimensional, but that's not right, because I do think she did a pretty good performance, and her character did have some good depth.
I love Brigitte.
Yeah.
I love all the characters in this movie. I especially love their mom, played by Mimi Rogers.
The mom's really funny.
She cracks me the fuck up.
The mom's really funny.
I think this movie overall is just like really funny, and it's like a super dark comedy, but it also has a lot of heart. I don't know. I have nothing but good things to say about this movie other than some of the pacing, and it is a little long, but that doesn't bother me too much with movies. Like, if it's good and it keeps me entertained, I can appreciate a longer movie for sure.
I like that. I think it's a good take on the werewolf.
Yes, it's like a slow transition.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, a lot of the times it's like, oh, on the full moon they turn into a werewolf for one day. But like Ginger's transformation, which we'll get into, is like a kind of a weird body horror.
Yeah.
Like you see her over the course of the month, like slowly turning into a werewolf. And I like that kind of take too. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a unique take on werewolf shit. It's also, this movie is Canadian as fuck. Their Canadian accents jump out, and that's really fun. And apparently, like, this movie came out right after Columbine, and initially it was like really hard for them to get funding for any kind of teen movie that was violent or so, like, it's a wonder that this movie even was made. And it was a huge flop when it came out, but it, like, because of the home video market, like, just grew this huge cult following. And so, like, I mean, it's a women's movie. It's about womanhood, for sure. And I think that a lot of the times, those kind of movies don't always do the best. And then, like, in retrospect, like Jennifer's Body, right?
Yeah.
Which it inspired, we kind of realize how great they are. And a lot of them are, like, masterpieces that were misunderstood.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the case with this movie. And without further ado, are you ready to scream?
I'm ready to scream, girl.
Okay, yeah. So if you've never seen Ginger Snaps and you don't want to spoil it, pause this podcast and go watch it and then come back and get into the plot with us. So the movie opens on the small town of Bailey Downs, which is a small Canadian town. And we see a mom out in the yard. She's like doing laundry, and she sees her little boy playing in the sandbox, and whatever he's playing with is bloody. He's like getting blood on his face. And she's like, what do you have there? And then she sees it's the severed foot of their golden retriever, who she goes and she looks and she sees Baxter in his doghouse.
Baxter's
completely dead as
I think that's why also this movie a bit for me. I know it's not bad, the dog mutilations or anything, but a lot of dogs die in this movie.
Yeah.
It makes me really sad.
It is. Well, you don't see the dogs die.
Yeah.
You just see...
It's like their corpses.
Yeah. So definitely trigger warning if that is going to bother you. We maybe should have said that in our spoiler-free review.
Oh, well.
Whatever. Yeah, but... Yeah, it's upsetting. Apparently, there's been something, a creature or an animal or something, they don't know, going around and killing all the dogs in this neighborhood.
Well, she runs out, and there's these kids playing, like, street hockey, and she's screaming, she's like, it got my Baxter! These kids do not give a flying fuck. They, like, stop and look at her, and then go right back to playing.
Yeah, which at first was weird. Like, I remember first watching this movie being like, what the fuck? What was that reaction? But it makes sense when you know that, like, this is just a regular occurrence in this town.
Yeah.
Something is out there eating these dogs.
Oh, you can even kind of tell with the way she says it when she's like, it got my Baxter. It's like, oh, okay, something's
definitely
happening
out there,
so
right?
This is, like, not the first time this has happened.
So then we meet Brigitte, our main character of this movie. We also meet her wig.
We also give this... She also loves throughout this movie to give this look where she basically tucks her chin into, like, her neck.
Yeah, it's all like...
And is always just kind of, like, looking, but she's always like trying to look up. I don't know. She's always just
Mouth gaping open.
like mouth gaping open.
It's very like vibes.
It's like very.
I love the way Bridget talks.
It's like
Well, she appears. She goes downstairs to their like weird room, and her first line is amazing because she goes, "Baxter's fertilizer," and like the way that she talks too, like her head kind of like vibrates because she's just like
Yes.
so angsty.
yes, these are like angsty girls.
I love these two. Yeah. So her and her sister Ginger, they live together in their weird ass room in the basement of their house. It looked like a prison or something.
Yeah.
Like it's such a weird, like they have all this like institutional lighting and everything is just so like goth, and they're so goth, like, or I guess grunge maybe is like the word to describe it, but it feels very like performative. Like it reminded me of very that TikTok of the girl who's like me trying to convince the other people at school that I'm a vampire, and it's like plays the Twilight music and she's I can smell their blood. Yeah, it's very that girl. And Ginger is playing with a knife, like a prop knife, and like pretending to slit her wrist. And we learn that these girls have this weird fascination with death.
And like photographing themselves being dead.
And they have this like suicide pact that before they're 16, they have promised that they will die together and kill themselves. And Ginger's like, "Promise me, B, us dead will be the shit." And this movie's a lot of quippy one-liners.
Yeah.
That's another reason why people compare this to Jennifer's Body. Which I just love movies like this. I love quippy, like every line is just a cunty moment. Then we get the opening credits, which is such a good sequence.
I like this. I really like this opening sequence of all the like photos.
Yeah, so they're
like,
working on this project of just photographs of each other in various dying and death scenarios. And the first one we see is Ginger looks like she's impaled by like the white picket fence.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, oh, what happened to Ginger maybe? Or you don't realize that it's a project that they're doing.
Yeah.
But then you hear Bridget go, "Too much blood. And I can see her gaunt." And Ginger flips her off and is like, "Just take the picture." And we then see the girls in class sharing their project. And they have these little bone pins, which I loved. And they have like, what were they, like bird beaks? Or what kind of necklaces were they wearing? Did you notice?
Oh no, maybe like bird skulls.
Bird skulls or something. Yeah. They're just so emo. Like. Yeah. And the teacher is like freaked the fuck out.
Yeah. He was not having it.
Like, oh, this is upsetting. Yeah. The rest of the class
was like living for it.
Sick. And then we see the girls in gym class while this douchey kid named Jason is making derogatory comments. And they're kind of like, him and his cronies are like sitting on the bleachers and like catcalling at the girls.
Yeah.
And Ginger apparently has been having weird back pains. And her boobs have been getting noticeably bigger. So we can assume like, oh, she's probably starting
Puberty.
Which this movie is all a metaphor for puberty and growing up and what happens to your body when that happens. The girls are making jokes about how they think that this mean girl named Trina will die. Like, just kind of like dark. They have very dark sense of humor and going back with each other. And Trina's friends overhear them. And they especially overhear Bridget calling Trina a cum-buckety date bait, which I think is such a good line.
Yeah.
And Trina gets pissed and shoves Bridget during this, like, lacrosse match that they're doing in gym class.
Something I noticed in this movie, we'll get more into it, but a lot of people setting themselves up just to, like, get killed or hurt in this movie. Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, you are just kind of asking for it.
Definitely, especially Trina. And
spoiler.
Bridget trips and she falls onto like
a mutilated dog, which somehow nobody has seen on this field.
No one saw that until now. I guess it's just so like, oh, there's been so many dog killings.
Oh, another one.
Yeah, it's just kind of like another one, but still it's like their reactions are not what they should be.
Like, oh my god, another dog. Everyone was more like, haha, she fell on the mutilated dog.
Yeah.
Like, wait.
Yeah.
Nobody sees how weird that is.
And Ginger consoles Bridget afterwards and is like, do you want me to kill her? I'll kill her, B. I'll kill her.
I'll kill
for
her.
you."
I like that.
Yeah. And they plot on how they're going to get back at Trina. And they watch Trina as she buys drugs from this cool guy, dealer named Sam, who, like, shows up in this van. And Trina, you can tell, is just obsessed with this Sam guy. But he blows her off.
Yeah.
Definitely is ignoring her. And then that douchey kid, Jason, comes up. And is like, oh, hey, Ginger, we should totally hook up. And it's just being, like, pervy to her.
Yeah.
And she just, like, ignores him, whatever. They go home. We meet my favorite character. Their mother. Played by Mimi Rogers. I think her name is Pamela. Pamela is the corniest, most cringy mom.
She's amazing.
She wants so badly to connect with her daughters and to, like, have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
But they're
She
just...
could not be any different.
No, and they're so angsty. Like, they're the definition of angsty, emo, early 2000s.
Like,
goth
Jesus,
girls.
what's your fucking problem?
Yeah, and they just think that she's so cringe. And, well, the first line she says is she's like, Ginger, don't push your sister. Oh, like, we immediately meet her, and she's just like, what the fuck? And at dinner, she asks Ginger about her back pain. And she realizes Ginger is probably getting her period. Period. And this scene is so funny because the period. This scene is so funny because the mom is she's so perky. And also, like, this whole movie, she's wearing, like, weird bows.
We also learned that both girls have, like, are 3 years, like, because usually...
Yeah, they're late bloomers.
The average age is, like, 12. I mean, you can start, some girls start as early as, like, 8, which is, like, insane. Mm-hmm. But, like, they're late bloomers because
they're definitely late bloomers.
15 at this point. Or Ginger's 15.
Ginger's 16.
16. Gonna be 16.
Gonna be 16, and I think Bridget's...
It's gonna be 15.
It's gonna be 15. Yeah, you're right.
Because then we learned she, like, skipped a grade.
She skipped a grade so she could be with Ginger, like, be in all the classes with Ginger. And Bridget's really smart, too.
Yeah.
But they are attached at the hip. Like, they don't have any personality outside of...
Each other,
yeah. And, yeah, the mom wants to be in their business and wants so badly to bond with them. And meanwhile, their dad does not give a fuck.
Oh, my God. He's definition of useless.
He's so checked out from every conversation. He's like, I'm trying to eat here. Like, do we have to talk about periods? Ugh.
Yeah.
And so the girls later sneak out because they want to go prank Miss Trina. And they're going to kidnap her dog and make her think that it was killed. And they find an actual dog corpse out in, like, a nearby public park kind of vibe. And it's fresh. And suddenly, the girls aren't as interested in death anymore. Like, you know, you'd think that they'd be all like, oh, cool, it's like...
Yeah, but they're like, ew.
Ew, yeah. Which is very, again, like, middle school. Like, we all want to, you know, think that we're all so hard and, like, emo and just...
And then when it comes to it, it's like, oh my God, gross.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ginger notices...
They're like, oh, you got blood. She thinks she got blood on herself from the dog. No, she started her period.
She got her period. We see it kind of drip down on her thigh. And she's like, I got the fucking curse. Are you kidding me? Because they call it the curse. That's, like, what they've been calling period the whole time. And then Ginger gets snatched. Like, this scene
is... And I think
horrific.
This might also, like, now looking at it, this might even be kind of like a metaphor of SA.
There's definitely some essay. There's definitely essay later in the movie.
Yes, absolutely. But I think this is an essay thing because it's like...
Sure.
You know, it's like this really, like,
it's
horrific thing where, like...
So scary.
Very predatory people go after, like, virgins.
Yeah.
And it's like this, like, fetish thing, and it's a very predatory thing, and it's like as soon as she started her period to be, like, attacked, she's getting brutally attacked. So as soon as she became a woman...
Yeah.
She's immediately attacked. It's like, so I don't know if that was the intention, but that's like how I kind of looked at it.
This movie was written by a woman, and I think that you can tell. Like,
Yeah.
I think you're so
I mean, it had to have been. The
spot on.
relationship is they're two. A man could not have written these relationships,
Right,
like not
exactly.
to like
yeah.
not
It was
to shit, but,
directed
like,
by a guy.
yes, but the script being written by a woman would
you
absolutely
can
make so much sense
tell.
because there's
Yeah.
there's just no way I think a man could have written the relationship between these two.
Yeah.
Because the relationship is very well written. I feel like talking about this movie more, I like it more. Which
Sure, you know what? And honestly, I'm
that's
remembering the first time I watched it, I had to sit on it for a bit.
yeah. But
I
I'm like
get
thinking,
it.
I'm like, well, because I was even thinking about that before, where I was like, I didn't think about that, but now I'm glad I brought it up. So like,
It has so many
saying-
layers. Yeah, I think this movie has a lot to say.
Yes.
But yeah, so we can describe this scene. It's so scary. Like,
You can't really
Ginger
tell what's going on,
is-
but you know she's getting attacked by this beast of some sort.
It's definitely a werewolf.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay. It's like a kind of a weird looking werewolf. I've never seen one like
Yes.
it. It looks good, and these are all practical effects.
She gets snatched, and at first, like, Bridget is like screaming for her, and you can hear her screaming you hear Ginger screaming in the distance, and then it's just quiet. And Bridget keeps screaming for her, and so she kind of, you think for a moment she's like, oh my god, she's gone, and then Ginger starts screaming again.
Yeah.
And she's like, shit, she's still alive. So Bridget, being the sister she is, runs after her, and then it's like it gets kind of chaotic to where you can't really tell.
The
what's
camera
going on.
angles are really good. Like, it just kind of keeps, because it's a practical werewolf.
Yeah.
It's a puppet.
And
I'm
like
pretty
she is
sure.
getting bitten into on the side, like it is chomping on her side. She's
yeah.
getting scraped up.
All the acting is so good. I mean, the acting is great in this
Yeah.
movie, period. But, like, it's a really tense scene. It's very well done. Bridget uses a rock to bash in the werewolf's spine and to get it away from Ginger. It chases them out onto the street, where it is immediately hit by drug dealer Sam in his van. And it's a big bloody mess. And they just kind of, like, leave. He's like, what the fuck?
And he goes and looks at it, and he's like, "What the fuck
Yeah.
is that?"
And
Then he knows it's not like a normal thing.
it wasn't, a dog or a regular wolf.
or a
It was-
human.
Yeah.
Like it's like, he's
It
like,
was-
"What the fuck?"
It was wild. So there's this also very tense scene right after there where Bridget is dressing Ginger's wounds, and she is just in complete
She's like, "Are
agony.
you?" She's like, "Are you?" Like she starts like pressing the wound. She's like, "Does this hurt?" And she's like, "No." Like
and then it just seals up.
it just starts healing. She's like,
Yeah.
I have to call the hospital. Like, I like, we have to call 911. This isn't normal. And she's like, oh, you want to get Pam involved?
Yeah, they call her mom Pam, which that's also such a middle school thing to call your parents by their first name.
She's like, oh, you want to get Pamela involved?
But she convinces Bridget not to tell anyone what
Which
happened.
is a big theme throughout this. Her telling Bridget what to do.
Yeah.
And Bridget going with it.
There's definitely a power dynamic. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Bridget looks through her Polaroid film,
Yeah.
and I guess because she wears her camera around her neck, and I think that she accidentally took a picture during the werewolf attack.
She pulls out the film. She has to like maneuver it out because it got jammed, and she sees like its face.
And this werewolf is scary.
It's a scary looking one.
Yeah, I like it.
Because
a lot.
we'll get better views of the werewolf later.
It's probably my favorite on-screen werewolf. I mean, this is my favorite werewolf movie.
Yeah.
But it's all, again, practical. It's maybe it has animatronic components, I can't really tell. Or just a really well-made puppet. And they just film it very smartly.
Even, like costume too, yeah.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
a lot of the angles seem very it seems very intentional. It's very well done. It's very well done.
And we appreciate practical effects here on
Yeah,
Let's Scream, for
They're
sure.
my favorites.
Bridget is at the store trying to figure out which tampons to buy. She's like, this one has a free calendar. Maybe I should get this one. Which I thought was funny. And she is with Ginger trying to buy
She's
them
like,
for
are you
Ginger.
sure you're all right, girl?
She says, are you sure it's just cramps? And Ginger says,
Just in cramps?
don't really go together. Which is great. I mean, that's another reason why I like this movie a lot, is because how many other movies, even nowadays, candidly discuss the topic
Of periods.
of periods.
Period.
The only other movie I know to do so is Carrie, and even Carrie doesn't go into this much detail about periods. So
Yeah.
I just think that's unique.
Yeah.
This movie it's a thinker. You need to sit on it for a while, I think, but it'll grow on you for sure. And Jason shows up. at the drugstore and invites Ginger to come
smoke
smoke weed
weed.
Out in
The devil's
Sam's van.
lettuce.
And Sam doesn't even know about it, but they're just like hijacking his van and smoking his weed, I guess. And Bridget is like freaking out while Ginger's in the van. Like, what the fuck? She's like, I can't believe she did that.
Yeah.
What's she doing? And she gets approached by Sam, and she asks him what he thinks hit his van. And he says, a lycanthrope. And she goes, I know what lycanthropes are. And this is another, like, Bridget talking, like, with that, like, I already know what that is, so.
Like, I know that.
He's like, sure you do. And Sam finds Jason and Ginger and the boys smoking in his van, and he, like, yells at them and is like, get the fuck out. Then Miss Trina shows up, and she has a Doberman, pet Doberman.
Yes.
And it starts freaking out when it sees Ginger. And it's like,
I think it's
gets
a Rottweiler.
really aggressive. Is it a Rottweiler?
It's a Rottweiler, babe.
Well, whatever. And it starts freaking out and getting really aggressive with Ginger.
Ginger fucking kicks it.
And Ginger kicks it, yeah. Like, she didn't give a fuck.
And she goes, "Rrr." I was like, yeah, you're not, I was like, you know what? Yeah, fuck you, dog. You're not so tough now, are you?
Right, yeah. But that's just, like, weird, right? Like, why is it barking at Ginger?
Yeah.
And Bridget confronts Ginger in the bathroom and sees that Ginger has hairs growing out of the scars on her
swoon.
chest.
Ew.
She says, I can't
Have a hairy
chest be. That's fucked. And Ginger starts menstruating again, and so they have to go see the nurse.
And the nurse is like, I know it might seem like a lot of blood. And they're like, no, like, girl, it was a lot of blood.
This is so great, because she thinks that they're just talking about, like, oh, you know, the regular schmegular period.
And they're like, no,
spiel.
girl, like, you don't understand. Like,
And
it was
she's
a lot.
so perky about it. I love it.
The mom finds the bloody undies while doing laundry.
And she sprays them. She's like, oh, I can salvage these. They are so blood-soaked, though.
No, not hydrogen peroxide. Yeah, I think hydrogen peroxide, y'all. That gets rid of it. That gets blood out of white clothes. And that's how she learns that, like, she started her period.
Yeah, she's like, oh.
And so they're having dinner, and she brings out this big strawberry fucking cake. And
So
it's
funny.
like, and Ginger's favorite. Congratulations, honey.
It looks like blood. Like,
I didn't notice that.
girl, read the room. It's so funny.
It's to celebrate her getting her fucking period.
It's a period cake.
It's a period cake. Period.
We also didn't talk about it, but the mom has all these weird bows in her hair, and she's like,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, oh, you didn't notice that?
I just noticed her curlies. She has
yeah.
She has the most perfect little curls, like bangs. It's so funny.
She's like definitely crafty,
Like front pieces.
and her craftiness like plays a role into the plot. So they just like remember that. Like,
Yeah.
Every outfit that she wears has like a little personal touch to it. She's very that woman. And thinking that Bridget told their mom about Ginger's like whole situation, she gets shitty with
She
Bridget.
gets so mad at her.
And I really like this fight. This is like where you get a glimpse of their power dynamic.
Absolutely, because I mean, Ginger's kind of a bitch.
She's kind of a bully, yeah. Well, I don't know if she was before, but definitely after
After all this,
bitten.
she really kind of. I think it's more. She always knew she was kind of the one in charge.
Yeah,
but,
she's
like,
the older sister.
She's the older
Yeah.
sister. But I think now she really was like, oh, I can take advantage. Because I know Bridget's a pushover. I'm going to take advantage of it. And that's the thing. She always knew Bridget was a pushover, but she never took advantage of it. Now she's
becoming very malicious. So they get into this like really big fight. And I like this dialogue here. Bridget's like, you're doing drugs with boys. Something is definitely wrong. And Ginger goes, you know what? Maybe I do see a monster. It's got these little green eyes. And she goes, oh, yeah, like I'd want to be hemorrhaging and sucking off Jason McCarthy. And Ginger switches up. She says, well, you always wanted to be me.
Which, that was mean. That was really mean. And that's the thing. Ginger kind of does this a lot. Like, she does some low blows. It's like, that was mean.
She's a low blower.
She's a low blower. She's a low blower.
Christy from Dance Moms. She's a low blower.
She's a low blower.
Who were they talking about? Kathy?
Melissa. Oh, Kathy. I think Kathy. Kathy or Melissa.
I just don't appreciate all the low blows she did with Mackenzie. She did low blows with Chloe. She's a low blower. Like, if my nose is a low blower. She is a low blower.
But yeah, Ginger's a low blower.
She's a low blower.
So Bridget goes and does like a whole studying montage where she's looking up, werewolf movies.
Yes.
And at school, we see Ginger strut down the hallway in like a
all,
more revealing outfit.
Skinny.
Oh, she is. Her waist is
yeah,
snatched.
to give you all an idea, we haven't really described their outfits, but they're always wearing like baggy clothes.
They both wear trench coats like everywhere
all the fucking
they go.
time. Hoodies, trench coats,
and
baggy jeans. Like
their hair is always ratty. Like Ginger. We talked
in gym
about
class.
Bridget's
None of them have. They're the only two girls who don't have their hair like back in a ponytail or put up in one way.
Well, they couldn't put Bridget's wig in a ponytail because you could clock it. I mean, you already could clock it.
Could clock it.
That's the thing. I don't think we really emphasized how egregious Bridget's wig is.
Yeah.
Like, we could spend the whole podcast talking about
that wig,
how
that hard
it is.
front.
It's a hard front, and it's giving her that Teresa Giudice three head situation. Ugh. And it wouldn't be so bad if she didn't lead with her forehead so bad either. Like, but it's the wig. Also, Ginger in this like little like cunty strutting moment, she has gray streaks in her hair, which I thought was cunt.
Yes, and that's like one of the like signs of her starting to change.
Yeah. And she's getting attention. Like, the boys at school are all looking at her and noticing her, and she's loving it.
The scene of her walking down the hallway, literally from Jennifer's Body. Like, Jennifer's Body recreated that scene.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Diablo Cody, who wrote Jennifer's Body, is a huge horror fan. So of course she's had seen Ginger Snaps.
She probably,
There's so many similarities to Jennifer's Body. I mean, like, that's why I appreciate this movie, too. Like, we wouldn't have Jennifer's Body without Ginger Snaps. Yeah. That night, Bridget creeps up on Ginger while she's sleeping, and she discovers that Ginger is
growing a fucking tail.
And it looks like an actual, like, dog tail, like an anatomical, like...
It was like...
Wild. And then we see Ginger blows off Bridget the next day to go make out with Jason in his car. I love this line of her, Bridget being like, she's ovulating. And they drive to this like dark makeout cove or makeout peak or whatever. And they're making out. But we get this scene that is literally like symbolically she's essaying Jason. Like, it's like a reverse.
He wants to have safe sex. She doesn't. She starts like biting him.
Yeah, she wants to be like the dom top and like take control. But he's like, you need to be the girl. And she doesn't like that. Like, she doesn't... She wants to be in control. Yeah. And she shoves him down in the backseat of this car. And, yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable. Luckily, it's, like, shot, I think, kind of tastefully. But it's definitely implying, like, this is an SA kind of moment. Yeah. Ginger appears in their room later... covered in blood.
Yeah, well, because this is a good shot. I like how they do that, because she comes home, she's kind of like crying, and Bridget wakes up and goes and touches her and is like, girl, what's wrong? And she like jumps up and runs out, and then Bridget looks at her hands and she's covered in blood. Yeah. She's like, shit, Ginger's covered in blood. So she goes and Ginger's like throwing up in the toilet.
In the toilet, she's puking blood up, and she reveals that she killed their neighbor's dog named Norman, who we forgot to mention earlier, but Norman's this yappy little dog.
Like, barking and like... or Ginger goes, shut the fuck up, Norman!
Yeah.
Shut up! She starts like screaming at him to shut up, like when I think it's during the fight between her and Bridget.
Because the whole time that dog is yapping.
The whole time. So I knew, I was like, oh, that dog's gonna get, I was like, Norman's gonna die. So that's another one of those where I'm like, oh, this person's setting themselves up to die.
The dog is setting themselves up to die.
Yeah.
And so Bridget tries a theory that her and Sam had speculated. He gave her a silver earring because, silver bullets is always in the lore of werewolves. That's how you're supposed to kill werewolves.
They're gonna pierce her belly button.
Yeah, I give her a belly button piercing with the silver.
Why not just pierce her earring?
No, well, because it had to be cut. Because it was the early 2000s, remember? Yeah. This was the era of belly button piercings.
Yeah.
And that was very, much a symbolism back in the early 2000s, I remember, of, young girls
Rebelling.
getting belly button piercings to, you know, show that they're older and they're like bad girls.
I'm grown now.
Yeah, I'm all grown.
Kind of my birthday party at the Cheesecake Factory. I'm grown now.
Yeah, I got a belly button piercing at Panama City Beach. I got a tattoo, but it's henna.
I'm at my 14th birthday at the Cheesecake Factory. My mom's dropping us off.
Mom, you ruined everything.
Mom, I told you to pick us up at 2:30, not 2:29.
God damn it. Oh, you're such a bitch, Mom. But during this belly button piercing, the silver doesn't hurt Ginger. I mean, she kind of starts convulsing, but it doesn't harm her.
Good.
And in fact, she grows fangs that come out. And they're good things. I like this effect. All the makeup, again, so good. The next day, we see Brigitte is in the bathroom with Ginger, helping her tuck her tail. I thought this could have been maybe like a trans allegory too. Like, it's coming of age in general.
Yeah.
But like the whole having to tuck her tail kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like, well, I think that might even, because it is a thing when like some girls get really embarrassed when their breasts come in.
And
so
they kind of like strap them down.
They'll
or
cover themselves
tape
up
them
with a
down.
baggy cloak. Like, so it might have been something kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I could also see the trans allegory for this, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot you can look into this one.
Mm-hmm. And Sam appears outside while they're in gym class trying to talk to Brigitte. She goes, "Are you on drugs? Like right now? Seriously? I'm in class here." And I just, again, like the way that Brigitte delivers lines is so funny to me. She shoos Sam away, and Ginger gets pissed, thinking that she's gone and told Sam about, like, her werewolf-itis.
Yeah.
And she says, he doesn't want to help you. He just wants to get in your pants. And Trina shows up, very jealous that Sam was giving Bridget attention. And she says, "So, sluts run in the family? Quel shocker."
And Ginger does not like that.
Yeah. And Trina and Ginger get in a huge fight, and we see Ginger's fangs appear again. And Trina gets a bloody nose by the end of it, and the fight has to get broken up. Then we see Jason is pissing blood in the bathroom.
Yeah, that was gross.
And he's got, like, bad acne, too. Like, he's starting to get some, like, little bumpies going on. And we can infer, Ginger has infected him with the virus.
Yeah, because B runs into him, and he's like, my ink. Because he has, like, a blood spot on
My
his
red
hand.
marker
He's
bled
like, my red
through.
marker bled through. That's it. That's what it is. It was a red marker. And so Bridget's like, holy shit, they had unprotected sex. And he got infected. Which I think is the allegory, like the allusion to unprotected sex and STIs.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, easily.
It's
Like,
literally like an STI. And when she tells Ginger that happened, she like shrugs and she's like, oops. Like, she didn't give a fuck.
yeah.
So they go to see Sam in his, like, greenhouse. And Bridget's Canadian accent jumps the fuck out. And she literally goes, sorry about before. And in the most egregious Canadian accent I've ever heard.
Yes. I love any time the Canadian accents come out. Sorry about that, Mr. Simpson. I was just a boot through dude.
Sorry, Mr. Armstrong. I was a boot through dude. And Sam tells Bridget that he believes that there is a plant called monkshood, a cousin of wolfsbane, that could cure the werewolf-itis. But Ginger interrupts and is like, she doesn't have time for this bullshit. She killed her dog already. She's growing a tail. She's fucked. And Sam believes that Bridget is the one
infected.
Because she's trying to protect Ginger.
Yep.
And she starts bitching Sam out for using this werewolf stuff as an excuse to kind of perv on Bridget. And Bridget yells at her and she goes, "Go wait outside, Ginger." And it kind of feels like how you would speak to a dog.
Yeah.
Like, outside. And it kind of pisses off Ginger. And she goes, "Fine. If he rapes you, don't come crying. I'll be at home." Like, damn. She's like a huge bitch in this moment.
She's so mean.
Yeah. We later see Ginger cutting her legs and bleeding in the bathtub she's shaving because she's starting to get hairy as fuck.
And we see she's growing like that, like, fucking weird thumb that dogs have.
Yeah, what is it? In my notes I called it a talon, but I don't know if that's like what it is.
I don't think it's a talon because that's like dog. That's like birds.
Birds, right? Yeah.
So it's like y'all know what I'm talking about. If you have a dog, it's that weird
know.
nail. It's like, why is it there?
I love this scene though, because again, her corny mom comes in and is like, "Oh, honey, let me see," and she's like, "No, mom, I don't want you to see. I'm fat."
And her mom sees all these like fashion magazines just like on the floor, and she's like, "Honey, those girls will take speed to be skinny."
Yeah. She's like, "Mom." The mom is so fucking funny. And Ginger screams at her to get the fuck out. And then she overhears Trina outside.
Well, also, sorry, I don't know if you said it, but what she says, she's like, "Jesus, don't you knock?" And she goes, "Don't you Jesus me."
Yeah.
"You don't have anything I haven't seen before."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Want to bet?"
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's a great scene. But yeah, Ginger overhears Trina outside in the yard yelling at Bridget to stay away from Sam.
Trina's being fucking nuts. She's like, she's like, not even that. This is Trina being nuts. She's like, "He doesn't even like you. He just likes virgins and then he throws them away after. And so I don't want you to get hurt. Like, somebody should put him in his place finally." And it's like, she's so just fucking jealous. And it's like, Bridget does not have any connection to this dude. Like, she's literally just...
I did not read it that way.
Oh, you do think they have a connection?
I think Trina's being sincere. She's like crying. I think Sam is like doing that.
Oh.
Which I think plays into what you even said earlier about like a lot of the sexual assault. Like,
oh, maybe.
You know, when Ginger gets bit, like when they get attacked by the werewolf, and you said that how that was like as soon as somebody gets their period, that's like a fetish. I think that's what Sam does. That's how I read it, at least. I didn't read this as like her
maybe,
trying to get attention.
Maybe I have to re-see that. I mean, again, I've only seen it the one time. But
yeah, no, I'm
it.
pretty sure like Trina is trying to look out for Bridget, actually. And I think like maybe like it comes across as she's jealous or whatever, but she's like crying, like she's hysterical, and I buy what she's saying. And she says like, yeah, he's a cherry hound. And she says, like, I wish somebody would give him the satisfaction just for once. And I think that he is kind of perving on Bridget. Like, 100%. We need to kind of talk about Sam, honestly. He's a weird character. Because why else is this, like, random older guy? I have no idea how old he is. He looks like he's, like, in his late 20s, I would say. But he's hanging out by a high school in a van selling drugs, I think, so he can hook up with these young girls.
Possibly.
But I mean, that's just my theory. That's what I read into it, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't get that, but again, I wasn't looking into it that much.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, suddenly Ginger
shows up and like puts her in a chokehold.
Yeah, it's like a jump scare too. She starts kicking Trina's ass and she like drags her into the kitchen. It's a very emotional scene. Like, you can tell that, like, Ginger is just so unhinged. And, like, Bridget does not know what she's going to do to this poor girl. And she's like, Ginger, stop. Like, no, like, cut it out. And then Trina ends up slipping on some milk. And she cracks her head on the counter.
It's kind of funny.
Diva down.
Diva down. It's like, damn.
Yeah, that part
they
was
actually
kind of
didn't kill her.
slapsticky. Yeah.
They actually didn't kill her.
And this is great because the parents come home. They hear them, like, opening up the garage door. So they have to hide Trina's body in the freezer. And then they pretend that the blood on the floor is just for one of their death projects.
Yeah.
And she's like, corn syrup, Dad, here, you want some? I thought that was funny.
And then she also has to chase Bridget chases the mom into the freezer.
This is
she's
so
like,
good.
She's like, the mom, she's like, shit, that's where Trina's body is.
She almost sees it. And then
And
Bridget
your mom,
goes,
what do boys want?
and the mom is like, finally. Like,
and so then it cuts to a scene of them like having milk and cookies. And like, she's like, it's, that's what boys want.
It's so good.
And you can tell Bridget looks traumatized by what she has just heard. She's like, oh my God.
It's so fucking good. The mom is so happy. And then we see the girls, they go out after that and they have to move Trina's body and they bury her under the shed.
Also, keep in mind, they poke at her in the freezer, and 2 of her fingers break off.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, damn, she froze that quickly?
I guess, yeah. They must have like a industrial grade freezer.
'Cause
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And Ginger convinces Bridget, like, it'll all be fine, like, don't freak out, no one will suspect us, because in society they only label young girls as sluts, bitches, teases, or the virgin next door. And she has a point, you know. I think that, again, this movie has, you can tell it's written by a woman who had a lot to say. I appreciate it. They agree that Ginger should ditch school and lay low until they can figure out a way out of all of this. And at school, Jason snatches Bridget up into a supply closet, and he has been consumed by werewolf-itis, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
It's given him things, and he has really bad acne at this point, which I thought this, again, was really funny that it reminds me of how boys and girls go through puberty.
Yes.
Like, the girls kind of get hot and, like, develop boobs and get
Guys
their period.
really bad acne.
And his voice keeps cracking, too.
Yes.
Which I noticed is so funny. And he's like, I'm on the corner of fucked up and evil. You know what I did for fun last night? I killed my own freaking dog, man. Now, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that, huh? And he was just trying to interrogate Bridget.
Like, what is happening to me? What is your...
He's like, is Ginger avoiding me? Where's Ginger? And at dinner that night, the mom confronts Ginger for skipping school, and then she questions Bridget about what's been going on. And then Bridget notices that their mom has some monk's hood from, like, a craft store she got.
Is this the scene where the mom's like, should I go talk to her? And she goes, no. She thinks it's really cool when you let us figure out stuff on our own.
Oh, she does?
So she just...
Oh, good.
I was wondering if that was working.
Give this mom of the year, bitch. She cracks me the fuck up. But yeah, so now we have this plot device of the monk's hood.
Yes.
That's her crafting come into play, which now we can maybe use to make some kind of cure for the werewolf-itis. We don't know yet, but that's the implication. So Bridget goes into their room, and she goes in the bathroom, and Ginger is trying to cut her tail off with a knife and is making like a huge bloody mess, which I thought this was sad. And again, kind of like a trans.
Yeah.
I could see the tail, it to me is very like in the way that it's like phallic and everything, like it's a very clear like, oh, I mean, I guess it is just puberty too, because things happen that you get ashamed of when you.
Yeah. I think it's I mean, there's a lot that can be looked into it. You know, I think there's things can be interpreted multiple ways. You know, there's no right answer.
It's art.
I mean, but like truly, you know, like the director may have had intentions, but if you took something else away from it, like they can't tell you were wrong.
Right, exactly. Like death of the author, all that stuff. Yeah. The next morning, she jams the bathroom door, locking Ginger in while she goes and figures out a cure. And Ginger is pissed because it's very like locking a dog up in a cage.
Yes.
And she's like scratching at the door so hard that her fingers bleed. She brings the monk's hood to Sam, who uses his drug dealing knowledge to turn it into an injection. Like we get this sequence of him like doing science and like making a drug. And he reveals that he knows that Ginger is really the one who got
This
bit.
is around where I think the movie starts to drag.
I agree.
Because I thought I was like, oh, this is gonna be like, this is near the end.
Yeah.
You're like just barely halfway through this movie.
No, I totally agree.
I think this is where it starts to like, I'm like, okay,
you feel it a little bit. Yeah, you feel it a little bit.
Because then the ending, like, I think the ending is really great. I like the beginning. I think it's really strong. I just think this middle part really drags on.
I think that's a fair critique, yeah. He reveals that he knows Ginger is the one who actually got bit, but warns her, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, if you're going to use this on her, make sure it's the right time.
Yeah.
Because she could die. But luckily, Bridget finds the perfect opportunity to test it out when she finds Jason, like,
bullying a little kid who's dressed up as a dog for Halloween.
Dog.
So I think it's, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks it's a
dog. Yeah. And she, like, saves the little boy, and then she injects Jason, and he springs back up, and it seems the cure works.
He just leaves. He's like, I got a class to get to.
Yeah,
and
I
he just
have class.
leaves with the needle still stuck in
out.
his neck, which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
but he's cured. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
He looked fine.
So the cure will save Ginger. And so we see Bridget, like, smile for the first time the whole movie. It reminded me of when Wednesday Addams smiles in Addams Family 2.
Yes.
But then she goes back to the school. And she finds that
Ginger, like, flashes her, like, tits or
Oh,
something
yeah, I
to
forgot
some
about that.
boys.
Yeah.
And so the guidance counselor's like, okay, like, to my
office.
office.
So we find that Ginger has killed that guidance counselor.
She's like, he was going to call Pam.
He was going to call Pam. We can't let her happen. And then there's blood everywhere. And Ginger is also starting to kind of get werewolf face.
Yes.
Like, her
the makeup,
eyes are giving wolf vibes.
The transformation is really well done through makeup.
Yeah.
The makeup effects are very well done.
So good. And it's also cunty, though. That's why I love Ginger's transformation, because the more she wolfs out, the cuntier she gets. It's so cool. And they decide to wait until the day's over to, like, clean up the office and get rid of the body. But while Bridget's out getting cleaning supplies, Ginger attacks the janitor. Yeah. And you think he's dead, but then, like, Bridget comes in and, like, he's still hanging on for dear life. And she's like, well, you infected him. Like, what are we going to do? Like, he's not dead. And so Ginger, like, guts him with her, like, claw hands. It's fucked up. And then she, like, goes on this tangent about it. And this janitor
kind of is he appears throughout the film, and he always kind of comes in last minute, and, like, he's always very nice to Bridget. Like, when she gets blood on her from the dog, he gives her a towel. When Jason was confronting her, he's the one who, like, opens the closet and is like, what the heck's going on?
And, like, kind of saves her.
And he kind of, like, saves her multiple times.
He's a nice guy, right?
But Ginger does not trust him and thinks she's like, I don't like the way he looks at you.
Yeah.
Because, like, Bridget's like, he's not doing it. He's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But, like, Ginger also kind of has this, like, idea of, like, I can't trust any man.
Yeah, and no man's good enough for my little sister either.
I think that, and I think it's also kind of like this whole, like, kind of like SA trauma thing of, like, you know, once it happens, you have such a distrust in men.
And that's why she really doesn't like her hanging out with Sam, too. Yeah, because Sam is known to have that reputation. Yeah. But yeah, it's really fucked up when Ginger's describing how it feels when she kills people. She's like, it's like touching yourself. It feels so good. And then it gives you this orgasm. And they get into this, like, really intense fight, and it's like, I don't even know you anymore. Like, you're not even my sister. I don't know who this person is. Which, this is sad. Like, I think this movie has a lot of heart, too, especially with their sister dynamic. Yeah. It's kind of tragic. And the mom, she finds the fingers. She finds Trina's broken off fingers.
Well, the dad finds the fingers when they're doing yard work, and the mom's like, oh, it's just their props.
It's for a death project.
It's for one of their death projects. And then she kind of starts to, like, question a little bit. She's like, wait a minute.
So, yeah, she goes out to the shed and she digs up a little bit and finds Trina's body. Yep. So she knows what's up. And she drives around and finds Bridget walking by herself to Sam's Halloween party. And she picks up Bridget and they drive to go get Ginger. Now, this is one of my favorite scenes. Ginger shows up to the Halloween party. She serves cunt. First of all, her hair is completely white. She's got, like, a really pronounced widow's peak. Yeah. She looks like a goth girl dream. Like, she's got wolf-ass features. Yes. But she still looks so hot. And no one questions it because it's a Halloween party and they're all dressed up.
So they're like, oh my god, what a great costume. Yeah. Looks so good.
And she, like, struts in slow motion, chugs a beer, and then makes out with the dude. All in the one continuous shot. It's so cunty. It's like, really how could you not say this is the cuntiest werewolf movie? Well, this and New Moon, as we decided.
Yes.
Last week. And she goes and she finds Sam and she starts to seduce him. Then we see Pamela and Bridget show up. And the mom has this really funny line where she has this whole plan. She's like, we'll just burn the house down.
Tomorrow, I'll turn on all the gas. I'll light a match. And the three of us will start out.
Yeah. So What about Dad?
No, he'll blame me.
He'll just blame me. It's fine.
They'll all blame me.
We'll just go, just us girls. I thought this was so funny. Then we see back at the party, Sam rejects Ginger.
Yeah.
And so she, like, snaps
Breaks
his
his arm.
And so Brigitte comes in. And, okay, I want to ask you about this, because I don't really understand. Brigitte does this thing where she slices both her palm and Ginger's palm with a knife, and then she rubs them together, thereby infecting herself with the werewolf cure. Why does she do that? Like, what do you think her reasoning is? Because she says something like, "You don't think you know me anymore? Now I am you," or something.
I think to kind of be like, get her to trust her.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
yeah.
I will go through this with you. You got to trust me.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. It's
Guess
never
she
been
knew there
clear
was a
to me.
cure.
Right.
So I
she
think it was like, I need to get you to understand that there is a cure. Except, here's
That
the
makes
thing.
sense.
This is where I kind of also have a flaw with this movie. They stayed in the guidance counselor's office the whole day. Why at any point did she not say, we found a cure, I can cure you? So I think that's where she kind of fucked up.
True. Why didn't she call Sam?
There's so many flaws.
Yeah, again, like the middle part of this movie, the story does kind of take a dip, but there's cunt moments.
Yes. I'm just, yeah, it's like that's where I kind of like I started to have issues.
Sure, I think that's fair. But in that moment, suddenly, Ginger really starts to wolf out. Like, her voice gets all, like, wolfy and scary. And she starts to convulse and really lose control of herself. So you can tell, like, oh, this bitch is about to go full werewolf. So Sam comes out with a shovel and, like, knocks her out.
After she'd already agreed to go. She was like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a cure, let's go.
Yeah. And Bridget's like, you fucking moron. Like, what were you thinking? And he's like, oh, I didn't know. So they put Ginger in the, like, cab of the truck. Or, no, it's like the van. Sorry. They put her in the back of the van. And they start to drive home so they can get more of the Monkshood plant. And in the back of the truck, we see Ginger completely transforming. And she, from this moment on, is full-ass werewolf. Yep. And when they get home, Ginger Wolf escapes into the house. So we get this whole tense sequence of them sneaking to the kitchen, and they are hiding in the pantry and, like, have to prepare the injection. But then Bridget starts to lose control because, remember, she injected herself with the werewolf-itis.
Yeah.
So she is starting to transform herself, and so it's like she can barely hold it together. But once they get the injection ready, Sam goes and he's like, I'm gonna go and try and do this. You stay here. But he gets snatched away by
mauled.
Ginger Wolf. He is, like, mauled. And it's all off screen, but the sounds are so scary.
Like, it's like, this is where I really started to really I got back really into this movie. Because this whole sequence is so scary.
It's so
and
suspenseful.
It's so well done. It's
all the
so,
horror in this movie is brilliantly done.
Yeah,
Like,
this part is so well done.
This director knew how to do
I think,
horror.
like, the last 15 minutes of this film are just, like, absolutely brilliant.
Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Bridget goes out and she follows the trail of blood down to the basement where their weird room is.
And she drops the fucking vaccine.
Yeah, she gets, like, scared. Like, I think something jumps.
And then she's trying to reach for it under the stairs because it's, like, exposed wooden stairs, like, in the basement. And then she hears Sam, bitch, he's still alive.
And he's, like, like panting really hard, like, just traumatized. Like, 30-yard stare, covered in blood. And Bridget comes to help him, but she can't help herself from starting to drink his blood that's bleeding onto the floor.
And that kind of is also, like, and because, like, Ginger shows up and starts drinking the blood too, and she's like, okay, we're good.
Still wolf. Like, it's...
Yeah.
She's... remember...
Full wolf. And
full
this is
wolf.
when we also are getting, like, more, like, the full design. And it's so good. It's
so good.
It's so well done.
It's very, like, muscly. It's less like a hairy...
It's not hairy.
But it's
very,
just,
like...
I don't know.
It's more basically, like, if, like, think like human, but if we were shaped like wolves.
Ooh, it's kind of gross. It's great. I love it.
It's a really well done monster
Best
design.
werewolf design, I swear. But Bridget starts to puke up the blood and kind of, like, reject, because Ginger Wolf, you can tell, is, like, into it and is excited to be drinking Sam's blood with her. But when the moment that Bridget refuses,
she gets mad at her.
she hisses at her, And she finally finishes off Sam. Yeah, she like kind of mauls his neck. And he dies. And Ginger Wolf chases Bridget around the basement in this very tense sequence until Ginger has her backed up against the wall. And Bridget finally kind of renounces Ginger and says, I'm not dying in this room with you. I'm not dying. And I think it brings back their suicide pact that they had at the beginning, which was kind of the whole foundation of their friendship and their sisterhood.
Yeah.
And in this moment, it's like, bitch, you fucked up. There's no going back.
Yeah.
And I don't fuck with you anymore.
Yeah.
And it's kind of heartbreaking. It reminds me of, at the end of Jennifer's Body, the BFF locket that Needy rips off of Jennifer's chest. And that's the moment where it's like, oh, damn, like...
It's over.
It's over, yeah. And Ginger Wolf lunges at Bridget. And Bridget has the knife.
Yeah.
And she stabs her in self-defense.
Yeah.
And we get this really, really tragic ending. It's so sad. Like, Bridget is lingering on all of their Polaroids on the wall of, like, them when they were sisters together.
Yeah.
And, like, how close they used to be. And the wolf, like, dies. And so Bridget has the cure in her hand, but she just takes this last moment of the movie to just caress the wolf's body, caressing her sister's body. And we don't really know what's going to happen from here, but the movie ends on that.
Well, we do. There's a sequel.
Oh, yeah. I never saw... Is it Ginger Snaps Back? Or I don't know.
Yeah, or Ginger Snaps Revenge.
I never saw the sequel.
There's also a prequel.
Maybe we'll cover them sometime down the road.
Maybe.
But I haven't heard... No one talks about Ginger Snaps 2, okay?
Yeah.
Everyone just talks about this first one. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think it's the perfect ending. I think it's
No, yeah,
so
it's like-
good. The music is so emotional.
It's very, like, it's sad, but it's like, it's kind of what, it's just how it happened. Like,
Yeah. There's kind of
the
no...
relationship they once had no longer exists.
It'll never be able to be how it was before. And
No.
yeah.
Well, damn.
That's Ginger Snaps.
That's
I think
Ginger
there's
Snaps.
so much to take away from this movie.
Yeah, no, I thought it's a good one. I really liked talking about it. Made me appreciate it more.
And good Halloween movie.
Yeah.
It takes place during spooky season. There's a Halloween party. So I thought this was a really fun watch around this time of year. For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be doing the Blair Witch Project. Because, we have to have a little witch.
I'll give you a preview. They're walking. They're walking.
Oh,
They're
in the woods
crying.
again. Oh,
they're in the woods. Now they're in a cabin.
Oh, and now
Yeah.
and now we're looking up her nose, and her nose is running.
Oh, boogers.
Blair's. No, the Blair Witch Project, is so good.
Does it
Like,
hold
it's
up?
one of my favorites. I think it holds up, yes. And it's one of the earliest found footage movies.
It's the one that really popularized it. But it's
Yeah.
also, that had a lot to do with the marketing.
Which we'll get into next week.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into next week. But so I think it's going to be a fun discussion, and I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining us this week on Let's Scream. We hope you had a fun time with us in Canada
Canada, eh?
with Ginger and Brigitte.
Eh? Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a glowing review of the pod, of course.
We are at Let's Scream Pod on all of the socials. You can send us movie requests for future episodes. You can follow me at Parker_Will_C on Instagram.
And you can follow me at Stevie Nash 95 on Instagram.
And until next time, this has been
Let's Scream. Bye.